And I said, this post got to fit in the back of an SUV. It's got to fit in the trunk of a car. It's got to fit behind the seats. And at the end of the day, you know, I mean, it has to be portable. It has to be easy for a realtor to put in. I look at a lot of my colleagues, and a lot of the colleagues are women. And I said, would they put the product in the ground, and would they do this on their own? And so basically, I developed the post that I could put in the ground in less than 3 minutes by myself with a cordless drill, an auger bit, and basically, you know, I mean, it was less time to put a post in the ground than it was to put a lockbox on the door. I mean, you know, doing 66 ends and just you get, and I got to Christmas one year and I was just zonked. And Christmas sort of came and went, and I sat there in a chair and it's like, man, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't, you know, you're doing 66 ends, you're fried, you're burnt, doesn't make no difference.
That's
you know?
wild. 66 ends, man.
Yeah, it's like, do you need to do 66?
Did you have an assistant
ends?
while you were doing that?
No, I was doing it all by
You're
myself.
an animal. How's it going, everybody? Today, I am super happy to be sitting here with a good friend of mine, colleague, Michael Bourque. Mike, who has been in the sales game for quite some time now, has a very direct communication approach to how he does business. Right to the point. You've been doing this for a long time. You have a theory to how you do business, and I'm just super excited to kind of get into some of the stuff that you're doing. He's also created an amazing product for the real estate industry in whole, which I think could possibly change the game for signposts, which is pretty cool. We're going to talk about that. But also recently he moved over to EXP from his past brokerage and has been here for about 6 months now, and completely plugged into all the things that we have going on, and the growth that he's had and the innovations into his business have been incredible. So I'm super excited to get this conversation rolling with you, Mike. Super grateful for you being here today.
Right on.
And yeah, man, how are you doing?
Well, thanks for having me, first of all. You know, a little bit of a drive up here this morning, but no, excited to be here.
Yeah.
Excited to discuss this new product. Lots of fun. You know, something that this product came out of. A lot of thought went into the product, and it came originally out of a profit and loss statement.
A profit and loss statement. So for anybody wondering, it's called the perfect post. And the reason I keep looking over here is because I'm looking at it. We're going to show everybody here in a second. But Mike, so was this your idea?
Yeah, well, it came from the profit and loss statement. I sit down one time and the big question as a realtor is like a lot of money coming in and a lot of money going out. And at the end of the
a lot of money going out. A lot of money. Yeah, this is a business. It's easy to spend money on your business in this business.
Yeah. So at the end of the season, I did my taxes, sit down there, and I asked my accountant. We had a conversation. I said, "Where did it all go?"
Right.
You know, where'd all this money go? I mean, I remember that season. I turned 66 ends. We were rocking and rolling. And
66 ends.
Yeah.
When was that?
That was a couple of years ago during the pandemic year.
2022, yeah.
She was rocking then and turned a lot of ends, and then at the end of this, you know, during the spring, we looked at the accounts, and I said, you know, something wrong here. What's going on? Why is all, you know, where'd the money go? Where are we spending it at?
Pierre Polivier.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the funds?
Yeah, where's the funds? Exactly. You know, I ordered a profit and loss statement, and my accountant said, Mike, you might want to do one of those, but it's going to take me a little time to break all this stuff down and show it to you, and you can sit down and actually see where all your money went. You know, we broke this down. So I think it was about a month and a half after the tax season. I sat down and I said, I was a little bit busy. I didn't look at it. I put it away for 6 months and came back to it. And I finally sat down ahead and I went through it, and I was probably 4 or 5 hours into it and read that. And it's like, okay, you know, wow. And I looked at the amounts and you know, post and signs and
videos
and pictures
Yeah.
and drone flyovers and
Yeah.
we got looking at it and I said, all this stuff is a must, but what do how do you cut this? You can't cut it. You can't take it away. You still have to have that in your business, but you're not in control of it.
Yeah.
So, we got looking at it and saying, well, what do you do with this? So it was about a year and a half. And, I said, do I want to put my own post in the ground? $100 a listing outside of Moncton. And, we were looking at it and it was adding up. You're doing, 40 listings a year. So it was adding up on the post end of it. And I said, do I want to do this? I don't want to put these wooden posts in the ground. I don't want to follow the same kind of posts that were there before. So we got, my brother-in-law he was a welder. He worked on stuff. And I said, listen, I want to run something by you and let's see if we can put this together. And we started discussing this post. And I said, I'm not going to have a truck forever. Probably going to get back into an SUV or something like that. And I said, this post got to fit in the back of an SUV. It's got to fit in the trunk of a car. It's got to fit behind the seats. And at the end of the day, it has to be portable. It has to be easy for a realtor to put in. I look at a lot of my colleagues and a lot of the colleagues are women. And I said, would they put the product in the ground and would they do this on their own? And so basically I developed the post that I could put in the ground in less than 3 minutes by myself with a cordless drill, an auger bit. And basically, it was less time to put a post in the ground than it was to put a lockbox on the door. So
Right. This is a pretty innovative thing because you look at this and you see what is metal and it seems like it would be heavy, but it weighs what, a whole of 7 pounds, you said?
Yeah, it's 7 pounds a piece. It's aluminum, so it doesn't rust. It's not gonna corrode or anything like that. You want to paint it, you can paint it to whatever color you want. You can have it. Yeah, there's the pink realtor in the city of Moncton. There's the purple realtor.
Is there a purple realtor too?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can paint your posts
Outside of Mike Sherrard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can paint your posts whatever color you want. I don't know if I'd leave them like they are, but I ended up painting mine.
I kind of like it the way it is. I'm really interested to see how it looks. And my big thing is I think the car lights at night that are going to reflect off it will be something that's going to draw people's attention.
Yeah, I tried
even more.
I tried to wrap in Moncton too. We wrapped one, which has a bunch of little EXP symbols all around it. But the cost of wrapping them became astronomical versus having to paint them. So I said, you know what, I can't afford to wrap these things.
So you've actually patented this idea, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, we sent out for a patent on the post. I said I didn't really know where they were going to go.
Right.
The whole start of doing these, I told my brother-in-law I wanted 6 of them for myself, and I said if I need a few more, I said I'd get a few more. And then all of a sudden, a lot of people started asking what's going on with this post.
Right.
And can I buy some? And, how much do they cost? And a lot of people started thinking, well, maybe I should put my own post too. And it developed into basically a bit of a production for us. We're somewhere into probably 60 posts now.
Which is crazy because you literally just came out with this idea. I think you brought it to my attention within the last month.
Yeah, we were working on it throughout March and April, trying to put some designs together and trying to get it before we cut it. And then we streamlined it a little bit. We're just going to build 6 again. So it's like, okay, well, we'll just cut it. We'll just cut the pieces and put them together. And now we're having the pieces cut from the metal place that are cutting them to length for us. And it was like, it's gone into a bit of a production now because we haven't got time to cut them anymore.
Right.
My brother-in-law's welding them all, so he's busy welding them. He hasn't got time to cut them.
Yeah.
So
I used to do a little bit of this actually in Calgary, welding aluminum, and I mean it's no joke. Aluminum's, for anybody that doesn't understand welding aluminum, it's a very soft metal, and it takes a whole different finesse than working with any other types of like steel or anything like that.
Yeah, this is done.
It's very soft, right? You can blow it out really easy.
It's done with a TIG torch. It's done with an electronic torch.
Yeah, I think I used MIG. MIG, that's the wire feed, right?
Yeah, TIG torches.
Any monkey could weld MIG.
With a rod, and I mean they're hand feeding these rods in there. Yeah. I put them to the test. The base is welded underneath and on top. So when you're looking at the base, and I had one realtor asked me, will I tear it apart if I pound it into the ground? I said, well, if you do, I said, I'll just, fix it for you.
Right.
I said, if you break it, I'll fix it.
You mean like this part is what he's talking about, pounding into the ground?
No, the bottom part, the 2 pins.
Oh, interesting. I got you. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That makes sense. That'd be where
the pins are welded at the top and actually underneath too. So I said, that's where it's going to take all the pounding.
So then this here, you're calling this the perfect post.
Yes.
This is the perfect post. And the idea of this is to eliminate the typical and traditional wooden signs that real estate agents use. And this here is a permanent post that pretty well, once you have it, this should last a lifetime as long as nobody takes it. Like this should last a lifetime.
Yeah, these are, to me, I find they're a very lifetime post. I mean, you might have to repaint them, or they might get scuffed up or stuff like that. But
right. Yeah.
I look at it and say,
but you guys aren't selling the art on it. You're selling the functionality of a lifetime post.
Yeah.
And I think it's a wild idea, because where I really see the benefit in this, Mike, is the people that install the signs, is the people right now that are out there running businesses for the real estate agents that have signs that they make in their warehouse, and they have X amount of posts, and they're always going through and they're constantly replacing the posts that are rotten and this and that. It's like, they should be buying this and then using this to install for the agents, or any agent that wants to take it amongst themselves. Because I know that's where you're going with this, is that you're saying the profit and loss is, well, this is easy to do yourself. But I think there's both those business models in there.
Well, they're both there, but I don't know if it viably, if it would work for these post guys.
No, I showed my sign guy right away.
And the I looked at it, and the sign guy was not in the cards for me. I was looking at it as the realtor doing, I probably got anywhere from 3 to 5 to maybe 6 listings going at one point in time.
At one point in time, right.
So for me, if I have 5, 6 posts, 8 posts, if I need 8 posts, great. I built a little rack. We sell these racks. You hang them on your garage wall, and you hang your post on them. And for me, it was like, I just don't want to pay a sign guy anymore.
Yeah.
Right. It's, I looked at it and says, in between the sign guy, the photography, the drone, it was $700 to $800 a listing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, how are you going to take that away, but not take away any kind of service to your client?
Right.
Right. You want to shine with your client. You want to have the post that's painted.
Literally shine.
Well, you can shine if you want to. But I mean, you want to have the post that doesn't look like any different than any other post. You want to have the photo shots that are no different than any professional photographer.
Yeah.
And drone flyovers the same way. So, I mean, for me, it was like, okay, $700, $800 a listing, It really became, I looked at it, the numbers last year versus this year, and I said, if I do this, if I jump in with 2 feet, and there's an investment involved, right? You have to buy these things.
Yep.
So, I mean, you're investing in yourself, and you're investing in your business.
Let's talk about that for a quick second. For anybody at this point, I'm sure there's people that are wondering now, how much does this cost per post?
I'm selling.
And I guess the follow-up question is, how much volume do you think that you're going to be able to handle? And how much are you looking to do? Like, are you looking to supply all of New Brunswick at some point? Are you looking to scale this? Because I think it's a scalable model.
It's definitely a scalable model. For me, the biggest cost is the labor cost. And we, again, it was
Right,
never
right.
built. It was never built to sell in the masses, but the idea was built if you wanted to build this for the masses. But right now we're rolling about 8 to 10 posts a month.
Okay. Yep.
And we had a big onslaught when we first started into it. A few people, well, I shouldn't say a few, quite a few people got into it and wanted some posts.
Yeah.
But what we were trying to do is we're trying to go at a pace that, order by order as they need them. And we're doing about 8 to 10 now. We've sped things up. We're doing 8 to 10 if we wanted to in a week.
Well, you said something in there that's kind of interesting. You said, that's very interesting. You said that this was never meant to be to the masses. And most problems that you solve for yourself, if it's a problem that you have in your business, it's like, that's something that probably other people are dealing with too. So even though you solved a really cool problem for yourself without maybe intentionally doing it, but it's like, this could be a great tool for the masses, for real estate agents. And I mean, just the real estate industry in general. This is a really cool, I've personally never thought of innovating the signpost. It just kind of was what it was.
Well, for me, it was never thought of innovating the signpost for the masses. I was going to do it for myself.
Right. But that's like where a lot of the cool kind of innovations come from. It's like you have a bit of a problem yourself and you're like, oh, I'm going to find a way to fix that. And then you do it. It's like,
well, there was a couple of factors that came into play, and a lot of people didn't sort of realize that until it actually happened, is that the real estate board says you cannot advertise before you put a listing up.
right.
So for us to put a signpost, it has to be put up
The day of the listing.
the day of the listing or the day after the listing. Once you go, you can't put it up the day before.
Right.
So
the day the listing goes live is when it needs to go up.
So what I
ideally.
was doing is I was trying to prep a listing, which I prepped one the other day, was the better part of 45 minutes, doing a photo shoot, a sign pole, and a lockbox. And I could never do that before because I didn't have the control.
Right.
I'd have to call a sign guy. Mike, I can't get over there till Tuesday. Well, I need it done Friday. Right. So it won't happen Friday. I get these guys, they're going in 16,000 directions at one time.
Yeah.
So by doing this myself, I have control. I can do this whenever I want.
Right.
My client was adamant having his listing put up on a Friday, which was, not a good idea, but I was trying to talk him out of that.
Yeah, I don't generally like going up on a Friday because I find most people are just already gone. It's like they've checked out of their emails, they've checked out of the like realtor.ca, and they're kind of away for the weekend.
Yeah, this time of the year, I mean, the springtime when it's wet and miserable, but during the summertime, I mean, the realtors, if there's something that comes up and it's hot and you got to get there, you got to get there.
You got to get there, right. And some people know exactly.
Are you on the golf course or at the beach or doing whatever you're not supposed to be doing there? You're probably there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, man, no, this is an incredible product. I highly recommend anybody that's looking for a permanent solution to their real estate signs to reach out to Mike. And I asked him for a couple. So this one here is actually mine. I got another one outside, and start off with 2 for now because that's kind of all you had for inventory because they're going quick. You're dropping them off to another agent here in St. John too, and I'm excited to give it a shot. Like, it's a pretty simple setup. I like the look of the aluminum myself. Like, I just like that. I think that's going to catch people's eye more than just a white wooden post. And I think it's because people aren't used to seeing a aluminum real estate sign, so that's going to just be it's something different. And then also too, I think the car lights at night will reflect off, and people are like, "What is that?" And then it's just kind of a double whammy. There's a lot of really cool things about it, so I'm excited to give that a shot.
Yeah, you're the only one so far that hasn't put paint on the idea.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna try it just like that.
You could polish it up. Maybe you could be like one of those truckers that polish their aluminum tanks, or you know what I'm saying there.
Right.
But
it always kind of goes back to this. It seems like, though, it always kind of goes back to that cloudy.
Yeah, for me,
The cloudiness, unless you take the wire wheel brush to it.
I see your signs. I see your post orange. I seen
Yeah,
your
I
sign the other day, and
know,
I
I
said
know. It should
right
be-
away. I said, why wouldn't you stand out and paint your post orange?
Yeah.
I just don't want to be the same as everybody else, right?
No, exactly. Which is why, I mean, I think that's why I wanted to get the sign, for one, because not many people in St. John are going to have this. Not many of them are going to have the aluminum signpost. So I'm excited to give it. I'm excited to give it a whirl. See what happens with it.
Yeah, I'm excited for St. John getting started. I mean, St. John's the first. You guys will be the first two in St. John to start with them.
Cool. Yep.
There's quite a few in Moncton now. Trying to figure out how to put one on a scooter for one of the realtors in Moncton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we're joking around with that. She inquired, and she has this cute little scooter, and
It'd be perfect for door to door.
well, she goes to her to her listings and showings with her scooter, and it's like, everybody in Moncton knows who she is, and
Eco-friendly realtor.
yeah, yeah. and I sort of joked about it in a message the other day. I said, I'm not quite sure how we're going to figure out how to put these on your scooter, but we'll figure it out.
I'm just gonna set it down.
Yeah.
Now, but let's see here, and it's even got the part on top too for the rider. So I mean, like, so for anybody looking at it, going, why is it in two pieces? You designed this so that it can be installed in two pieces, and that this can be tossed into the back of a sedan vehicle, of a regular car. Like, this fits into the trunk of a sedan, right?
Yeah, it goes in the back in the trunk of a car.
Yep, in the trunk of a car.
In the back of an SUV. In my own truck, I put them behind the seat of my Tacoma, so they're in the back seat, standing up on the floor. So I don't want to scratch them all up.
Yep, and it's got everything on there ready to go. It's got the little loops here so that you can hang your sign right on there, and you already have the holes in there. And it comes with pins that you put into it.
Here's the pin.
So it comes with your pin. You slide it in there, and it goes right into two pieces. It's a really, really sharp product, and like as you guys can see, like, this is just like, you can. It's just a little awkward right now, but you can hold this with one hand. Like, it's very light.
It doesn't weigh a whole lot. I mean, I've had some clients drill out the pins and put locks. They're a little concerned that somebody was going to run off with the top part of their sign, so they're putting locks where the pin goes.
Right.
And
right.
I mean, yeah, if they run off with your sign there, so be it. But
right. Well, I mean, same with the price of lumber nowadays too. Like, people, I mean, it's like people stealing the signpost. I don't think people really do that. I don't know. They probably do, but
we were talking about that the other day. I said, in the province in New Brunswick, there's nothing. The signpost is not standardized.
Right.
I mean, if you head to the northern part of the province, I was amazed and at the same time appalled at the signs being a stick of wood with a sign screwed onto it. And Moncton and Riverview and Dieppe and I'm sure, St. John, Quispamsis, and in your area, Fredericton, if you were to put a stick in the ground with your sign screwed to it, you'd probably get thrown to the curb.
Right.
The standard is not the same in the province, and I figured this might be a good idea for some of these people to put these signposts in their trunk. Was that a problem to get them in the car? I've seen realtors trying to put the full post in their car, and there's a couple of them out there still in Moncton doing that for sure.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think the post itself is extremely innovative. I think that it's got a whole bunch of utility for agents because it's a lifelong post. Like we said, as long as nobody steals it, which why would they? Nobody steals the lumber. Lumber's expensive. I think it's great. I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to catch on, and yeah.
It's for me, it was one of the cost cutting measures in my business. I mean, for me, it was like, okay, I'll invest. I mean, I'm not invested into $1,200 in total for signposts.
Right.
So I mean,
total. Which you'd spend that's still a quarter of the spending that you'd do on a regular year, right?
Yeah. So I figure on the third listing that you're going to put a post in the ground, they're paid for.
They're paid for, right?
Right. And I mean, these things are going to last you for years to come. Right. So for me, it was like, okay, can we eliminate that altogether? Yeah, let's do that.
And another thing is, in the winter too, a lot of posts get damaged from snow plows.
Yep.
because a lot of the signs are fairly close to the road. So I've seen some of them just getting completely mowed over by the snow plows, stacking the snow up on the road, depending how close the signpost is and stuff like that too. It's yeah. So anyway, this is a great.
We were
solution.
late in the spring building this, but I mean, with this auger bit bites pretty good into the ground. The only thing I think that I'm a little concerned about, and you have to be very concerned about putting a post in the ground. I ask a lot of questions, you know, are there gas lines? Are in the ground, you know?
Right.
Am I going to
Like
drill
natural
into,
gas lines?
yeah, water lines are
Those
quite,
must be deep though, eh?
no, gas lines are not. And that
Are they not?
in the city of Moncton,
Because you're drilling down 18 inches.
and 18 inches is enough to hit a gas line.
Stop it, is that?
Yeah. So
No.
you have to be very careful. I mean, and one was hit in Riverview with a signpost driving a stake in the ground. And the gas line was hit in Riverview, and that you have to be careful. You have to be vigilant of the line going to the house. Not all houses in Moncton have gas lines, but
Right.
you know, Dieppe has absolutely, I don't think too many gas lines if there's any. So
Well, no, great product, Mike. So, is there anything else you want to talk about on those?
no, I mean, for me, that was just an avenue. The camera, the time I put into that, I mean, that's a different game altogether.
That is a whole, I mean, that's a whole other conversation too, talking about the profit and loss statement. I wanted to ask about that. Is that a common thing that accountants will do, or is that an extra that you have to ask? And that's something that they'll kind of add on to their service that they're doing for you for your taxes?
I had to pay for the profit and loss statement.
You did? Okay, I was curious about that.
It was about $1,000 to prepare that.
Wow.
And I said, you know,
Okay.
she says it's probably going to be $1,000 well spent once you look at this.
Right.
And it was. It was a big realization for me in the business. I mean, what things cost.
Right.
You know, I mean, adding a camera, adding these things are assets to my business now.
Right.
And does it make me a professional photographer? No, I think time behind the lens will make you a professional photographer.
Absolutely. Right. Right.
Time flying a drone is going to make you that professional photographer.
Right.
Okay. Part of that profit and loss statement that I looked at was the companies that you're working for, the splits. You know, what's the splits going? What's that costing you
Right.
per deal?
Yep.
And that breaks down to a massive amount of money.
Absolutely. Depending what brokerage you're at too, it can be even more expensive.
Yeah, and that was one of the, for me, it was an innovating or a driving force to perhaps make a change.
100%. Yeah, me
know,
too. Me too.
Because I looked at that and said it's absolutely appalling.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, of course, a person selling their house, they look at it and say, you know, we're paying 5%. And you know, that seems to be the going rate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what they don't see is the breakdown behind the scenes.
Right.
And the breakdown it's massive.
Right.
Right. And what's
Because they look at us as the listing agent and say, oh, 5%. It's like, well, first of all, that's shared between the buying agent as well. So then you split that right down the middle most times. And now you're at 2.5% on either side. And once you break it down even further, like you said, the costs to actually get the listing up on market, the signs, the marketing, and all the stuff that goes into it too. And it's
and then that 2.5% is split again
with the brokerage.
With the brokerage,
Right.
And you know, I mean, the seller, that's irrelevant to the seller.
Well, right. No, exactly. And then here's something too, is as we talk about this, people think, oh, you know, you're just talking about how much money you're making. But the more that we're able to keep from the commission that we get, the more that we can put back into our business, that we can help to serve our clients. So then now look at what you're doing. You're innovating and getting your own camera and your own drones and your own signposts so that you can be of a quicker service to your clients. But that'd be harder to do if you had more money going to the brokerage. If you weren't making as much, it'd be harder to kind of make those investments into your business. Do you see what I'm saying? Like the more that we're able to keep from our commissions, the more that we're able to put back into our business. And I think people don't realize that. And that's a big reason why I like EXP is they have one of the best commission splits with the brokerage to agent that I've seen here in New Brunswick. And that, not even on top of the other ways that you make money through the revenue share and the stock splits. That's kind of all on the back end. But even just for what agents are doing, like I didn't change anything from the way that I was operating when I left my past brokerage to come to EXP, but automatically coming to EXP gave myself a raise, which then allowed me to invest more into my business, more into training, more into conferences, more into self-growth. That then turns me into a better agent and turns me into a better service for the clients that I'm currently serving and future clients too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I looked at it and said, at the end of the day, it's not what you make. At the end of the day, it's what you keep.
What you keep, right?
Okay, and that breakdown when you do that profit and loss statement and say this is what you did, and this is what the possibilities are for you if you want it to be that way. To go to seminars and to go to all this stuff. And I looked at it before and I said, absolutely no way that I can afford to spend $3,000 or $4,000 to go to a seminar.
Right.
I don't have it.
Right.
You're very, very vigilant of what you're spending. And I call it, it's not, and it is survival mode.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, when you first start in real
mode.
estate, I find it's survival mode.
Yeah.
When you're first getting going in this business, the first year or two are almost survival mode, right?
I look at it now, and I'm no longer in survival mode. And and it's like, but it still looks. I still look at every dollar and say, okay, be vigilant of what you're spending here.
Right. You're in like CEO mode now, wearing the CEO hat, saying, okay, where's the money being allocated, and trying to now get the efficiencies rolling in the business. Well, that's another side of it.
We looked at these posts, and then I jammed in some cameras, and then I needed some lenses, and then I needed the camera thing went on and on and on, and then I needed some time behind the lens, and then the drone came, and the learning curve from the camera went from the camera to the drone. Well, there's so much learning going on that you forget that you need to do the business too. You got to be involved in the business, right?
Yeah.
So there's time for the learning and there's time for the business.
Right. Well, we actually kind of just discussed some of that on our last call, where it's like there's a difference between working on the business and working in the business, and a lot of agents get caught in that working in the business, and you're working in it, and you're the person out doing the showings, and it's like you don't actually get to take that step back to say, where am I being inefficient? Where could I be putting more time in to get more leads? Where could I be? And it's stepping back to actually look at it from a top-down perspective and say, how could I be running this better? And it's hard to do sometimes because we get thrown right into the thresher of it. Like I find this time of year especially seems to be hard to kind of take that step back and reorientate. But you have to make it a priority. You just have to kind of put it in the calendar. And then they were saying how a lot of the top, on our call with the Wolfpack, they were talking about how a lot of the top agents, the like 1% of the agents that are like absolute dominators in the industry, they keep their mornings sacred to themselves. And that's the time that they work on their business, and they're looking at improving the systems and lead generation and doing all these things that are a complete necessity. And then come the afternoon, now they're working in the business, talking to the clients, going out, doing the showings, going to the listing appointments, this, that, and the other thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's a big eye opener.
Yeah. For me, when I first started, I mean, I was like tunnel vision.
Yeah, you have to be. You just have to claw.
Listings. How many listings can I get? I mean, at the end of the day, there was,
handing your business cards out everywhere you go.
Yeah. And,
now that never stops, but.
And you didn't concern yourself about, what all this stuff cost,
No,
just
doing what you
going straight
have to.
ahead, and you're hiring these photographers, and you're hiring these drone operators, and you're hiring these post guys, and you're just paying for it.
Yep.
And for me, I stopped, and when I stopped and looked at all this stuff, and I called it the CEO a little bit. Do I got to spend $1,000 to do a profit and loss statement? That's a lot of money. I can put my $1,000 in a better place, and I can tell you right now.
And it's so funny talking about a profit and loss statement costing $1,000.
Yeah, well,
there's $1,000 lost.
it was the $1,000 probably best spent that. And for me, it was the time to sit down and actually visualize and look at it.
Right.
And then we talk about the CEO and the time and sitting back and looking at our business. That's the problem. We don't look at it enough. I mean, I looked at it and says, you know, you're leaving $27,000 to $30,000 on the table. And I said, you know, what can you do with $30,000, Mike, for yourself? You know, it's going to cost you about $6,000 to $8,000 to make $30,000.
Yeah.
So, you know, instead of paying this stuff out and paying it out and paying it out and paying it out, and a little different at EXP because we didn't have our monthly bills. Our monthly bills were sort of, you know, where we're buying a photographer or we're paying for most of that out of pocket. So we're seeing small portions at a time. But the old brokerage when we were both at one point in time they send you these monthly bills and all these charges would be on these monthly bills.
Yeah.
And we look at that, you know, $2,200. What in the dime did I spend $2,200 on?
Right. Three sign installs and like sometimes like removals, and depending if it was outside of the jurisdiction, then you're getting charged the extra for miles.
Yeah.
And
so you get looking at that and, you know, your credit card was just taking I call it a shit kicking.
No, it's true. Well, it's very true. Yeah. And it does. And all that stuff adds up. And like you said, when it's only small portions, so $100 here, you know, $200 or $300 there, doesn't seem as bad, especially when you're looking at it from the perspective and the lens of, well, this is the cost of doing business, and I'm going to make money from this listing that I'm investing in. So it's like, you know, I'm going to see that back, but all that does slowly chip away. And what is your thoughts on paying for some of this to save time, though? What's your thoughts on the kind of like buy back your time so that you can kind of go out, maybe get more listings so that you're not putting as much time into all that stuff? Because I know some people will argue that and say, well, do I want to spend the time doing the photos, doing that, doing the drone?
That's a great question because I'll tell you, when I did that question did come to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, Mike, I had a spectacular guy taking drones and pictures, and he was good.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's always there on time and everything was perfect, and you just do it. And you said, well, now you're taking the responsibility to do this yourself.
Right.
And for me, it was like, yeah, you know, let's give this a go. And I remember my first photo shoot was an absolute disaster, but I ended up shooting it twice.
Okay.
Because I had a lot of stuff set up wrong, and you know, there was things I didn't buy that I needed, and
lenses.
It wasn't lenses, flashes, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did the first one, and then I said, well, no, you know, I left that first photo shoot, and we got through it. I took it on a brighter day.
Smart. Yeah.
And anyway, I went back and I said, you know, you got to have all this stuff. So I went and bought all this stuff, you know.
Well, that's actually a good point. Like you're saying, taking it on a brighter day, because sometimes you hire a photographer, you don't know what the weather's going to be. And if it's a cloudy day, then you have that photographer booked. Like, you could cancel because of the weather, but then now you're rescheduling, and it's just all of that comes into being an issue with...
You're in control when you're doing this yourself, right?
Right.
You're doing a drone flyover, and you know, don't get me wrong, this guy was great. He did a spectacular job. But for me, I was looking for a bit of different drone flyovers. DJI has a mic that you're, and I think you have some.
Yep. I have the DJI. Yep.
And the DJI mic hooks up to the DJI drone, and you can actually hover the drone over the person's balcony and do an interview right off the porch. Okay. And it was like, you know, I was like, okay, this is the kind
that is pretty cool.
This is the kind of stuff I want to do. Right. And it's like, okay, how do you do this? Right. And it's not all, there's a lot of settings in these drones.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, I got into the camera first, and the learning curve is massive. Okay. And you're not a professional until you spend some time behind the lens,
right,
and change things. And the same as the drone. I mean, the learning curve is massive also.
Right.
I learned the first week, I crashed it. And, you know, here we are, we're into $1,600 and it's off to get fixed already. But I mean,
The fact you're willing to learn, though, is fun. The fact that you're willing to give that a shot, because there's some people that will just say, I've been running my business this way for years. This is how it's worked. I'm not willing to change anything. But you seem to be willing to adapt. And that's one thing that actually excites me about you coming to EXP, too, is a lot of people see EXP as a very technology-based company. And they think, oh, there's going to be all these learning curves and all these adjustments. And I'm used to my old brick and mortar brokerage where I have people, where there's more support that they think, and they think that EXP has less support because it's just all technology. But it's like, you've come in and really embraced all of the EXP culture. You've embraced the calls with the wolf pack and really plugged yourself into all this stuff going on. And it's really cool to see you doing these things, like even just buying the drones and doing the videos and being willing to kind of do all this. And that excites me because it's just fun to see.
The jump was, for me, it was as anybody else, probably pretty fearful. I think, you and I discussed that for probably 6 or 8 months before
I think it was almost 2 years.
Yeah, maybe.
It was pretty well from the point when I came over. You were asking questions about it.
Yeah, and for me, it was like, okay.
Yeah, so probably a year and a half.
Yeah, and I didn't jump. It was like I was doing a little research, and then I'd ask some more questions and do a little more research. And for me, what the jump or the big jump was a lot of the technology. And the technology for me, I wanted to be in control.
Right.
I wanted to understand it. I didn't want anybody doing it for me. I want to know how to change it, manipulate it, and do the things on my own.
Right.
So how can you be in control of your business if you can't control the technology?
Right. Right.
And now,
where before at our last brokerage, if we had technology issues, what happened? We'd say, hey, I have a question about this. Okay, you have to set up a call with a technology guru.
Yeah,
which was then 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks out. You'd have a call scheduled with somebody on a technology issue. By the time you got to that 2 weeks appointment where you have time to solve the issue now with a one-on-one call, most times I forgot what the issue even was because I'm like, I just moved on. I found another way to do it.
Yeah,
I found another solution.
Get into the SKU, and what I found with EXP as soon as I came over is, I go to the EXP world and you could pretty much answer your question 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, real time.
7 days a week. And it was like, you're going to answer my question at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Right. And I wasn't used to that. Let me get somebody. And every time I went there was a different technical advisor. And it was like, oh, well, do you know about this? And oh yeah, Mike, this is how you do this and this, and this. And oh, okay. Well, you sort of felt stupid, right? It's like,
right.
Yeah.
And it's solving those problems in real time. And that's the important part about the EXP world that people don't realize is when you have an issue with any of the systems in EXP, you can get answers right away because the sooner you get that fixed, the sooner you get back to your business and out being able to talk to clients, out being able to do what we do best. And that's getting business, fulfilling business, and meeting and having conversations with people and building relationships.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing that everybody forgets in the real estate is they get tied down doing stuff that, it doesn't make money.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
You have to get out there and talk to people. You have to get out there and I'm doing letters. I'm still doing letters.
Right.
And, walking out and talking to people in driveways, washing their cars and a lot of the wolf pack in our little group, Mike, that's sort of old school. It is, but it works.
It absolutely works.
Right?
Here's the cool thing. It all works. It's what are you willing to dedicate your time to make it work. Cold calling works. Door knocking works. Social media works. I've gotten leads right from social media, right from the YouTube videos, right from this stuff. I've made relationships and built relationships with people that first started on a Instagram platform, on a DM. And it's like, who's this person? And it's like, now we're out helping, I'm helping them find properties and locking in contracts and like building relationships with like really outstanding people. And it all works. It's just, what are you willing to put your time into to make it work?
Yeah. What works best for you? And I think that's the biggest thing that everybody tries to, they're looking for the I call that the golden hen.
The shiny object syndrome, right?
And they get, focused on like Facebook,
Right.
let's do some Facebook marketing and these leads are going to come rolling in, and then you look back and say, well, I just spent there's another profit and loss statement sort of conversion. How many people did you convert from Facebook into actual clients, right? And then feeding them, I call them drip campaigns, and are you gonna convert some of these people? I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. I get people reaching out to me going like, hey, actually, I've had a couple appointments set from the drip campaigns. Every once in a while, because I have a drip campaign going on right now too. Every once in a while, I'll get messages from people like, hey, yeah, I do want to grab a coffee. And I'm like, huh? And then I look and I'm like, oh, I just sent like 180 people an email
from your drip. Yeah.
saying, hey, do you want to grab a coffee?
I'm not used to that either, because I got that.
And it's like once every 3 weeks one will go out, right? Like it's not like spamming people every day. It's just like something that's very casual. Like I found, and I actually tweaked it too. So like I made sure that I looked at every email and I was like, do I like the sound of that? I'm going to change that up a little bit just so it sounds more like me. Like the first quarter of this year, I spent 2 hours a week working on my drip campaign just before I sent it out. I was like, I just want to make sure that this sounds like me, so it's not completely inauthentic.
Yeah, I've set up a bot, and
you have a bot.
Yeah,
you've even adapted ChatGPT and everything.
Yeah, that's my new assistant, ChatGPT.
That's my new assistant. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it should be.
Yeah. We set up the bot and did that through Atlas Alliance and took that course. And
Atlas Alliance, yeah.
I think I went back and the great thing about Atlas is you go back and watch that video probably 30 times until you actually understand it.
Right.
Right. And say, oh, that's all it is,
Yeah. So Same thing with the Wolfpack calls too. They're all recorded as well.
Yeah, yeah.
We have an archive. There's an Excel sheet of every single call and what it's on.
Yeah, I'm doing probably more with Atlas than I'm doing with the Wolfpack.
Right, right.
I find a little not repetitive, but
slightly. Yeah. Well, I know what you're saying. I think a little bit of it does. There's similar topics being talked about, for sure.
Yeah.
I find value in both. I definitely find value in both for sure. Because I started off just doing the Wolfpack calls, and then Atlas just started at the start of the year, right? That was just in January, I believe.
Yeah, I was just in for maybe a month, and then you introduced me to Atlas, and I went to one of their, not a summit, but
one of the calls.
One of the calls.
Oh yeah. No, that was you were in the Resurgence.
The Resurgence, yeah.
The Resurgence, yeah.
Yeah. And got into Resurgence, and it's like a little bit blown away from my normal coaching calls.
Right. Because you even did coaching at our last brokerage.
I had some students, yeah. I had some students for a while, and I got a little bit worn down with that towards the end. I mean, you're taking, I don't get me wrong, but you're taking on negativity, and it's like, I can't do this, or I can't get past this, or I can't get past that. And it was like, you know what? When I left the last brokerage, and I said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to take on any more students. I don't, and I did. I just took one on here in Moncton.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. And I was like, what did you go and do there?
Yeah. But, yeah, that's a whole side conversation there. The I had a fella like that too. Still have him.
You know what?
You can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, right? No, that's the thing. People need to want it.
I look back at those guys and I visualize myself in the business when I first started out, and I had a few people that were helping me out, and then I got into coaching, and there we are again, spending some more money, and what are you getting from it? And we're talking about, Resurgence. And when we got into Resurgence, I got that ticket for free and went there. And it was like, you know what? Atlas Alliance, when I got into Atlas Alliance, and the price for that was, it wasn't even one coaching call. And I was doing umpteen coaching calls a month. And it was like, you want how much? $160 a month?
Right.
Technically
2 calls a week, right? Because they do Monday and Friday.
Yeah, you're doing 2 calls a week.
I didn't even know they're doing Fridays. I've never gone on a Friday one yet.
Yeah, and they're doing.
I think Friday's more like one-on-one, isn't it?
An hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, they're an hour and a half now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mike, are you coming to Nashville?
I'm still on the fence.
Did they put you on the spot here?
Yeah, you did.
Someone told me you're coming. Someone told me that you're coming, so that's why I wanted to ask you.
I haven't pounced on the ticket yet. I've got to do that. I think before the 27th.
Okay.
I think the 27th is the deadline.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
And then I got
27th of what, August?
no, 27th of July.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think it's this month. Anyway, I have to make it. I have to book some flights. I got to do that.
I still have to book my flights too.
Yeah, so
yeah. I mean, between Evan and I, we have there's a room booked there, and we're gonna try to.
I haven't done anything, but probably yes.
Okay, cool.
I'm about 90% in. It's just I
Awesome.
haven't jumped in yet. So it was like,
Sheldon's coming.
yeah.
He got VIP with us.
Did he?
Yeah, he got VIP. Yeah.
Jeez, I'm gonna feel like a cheapskate in the back seats here. You know,
In Nashville.
I'm gonna be in the back seats in Nashville, feeling like a cheapskate. You know, I figure if
We'll be waving to you from the VIP section.
yeah, it's all good. You know.
No, well, you know what I'm really excited about, and the reason I did it, I think Mike and Louie and all these guys put a lot of effort into these events, and it's like they've given so much value to me that it's like I want to jump on that and be part of all this growth. Mike's just a young guy, eh? Mike Sherrard, he's like 30, 31 years old. Like he's my age, and just like just on just such a crazy level of drive.
Yeah,
and it's so cool to see.
Yeah, I sort of relate with Mike, but I started to become more related with Louie.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
right.
like-
Because it's like the family. Louie's balance, and I love that we have both Louie and Mike kind of coaching us at the same time, because it's like Mike's got the drive, the go, but then Louie's like, and for those that might find that a little bit tiresome, there is balance too, and Louie says that's completely fine as well. And it's like he sets a precedence with his clients that after 6 p.m. that's my family time. Like I'm gonna do business up until 6 p.m. Anything beyond that, if it's not an emergency,
Right.
then it's going to have to wait till tomorrow when I'm working on my business again. And then having that is so important.
Yeah, no, that's a big thing you have to look at as a realtor. I mean, we're burning the candle at both ends
Oh, yeah.
in most cases, and you
I
know,
feel burnt on both ends right now.
yeah. So I mean, you know, to go out and do a showing or whatever it is, I mean, does it fall into family time? Yeah. Is there a balancing act to do some family time? You know, I mean, I've been one day a weekend. I mean, I was up to do a tournament for rugby last weekend.
Yeah, I
in
seen
Fredericton.
something about that. Yeah.
And you know what?
Are you coaching that?
No. My son's playing rugby.
Cool, yeah.
So you know what? It's like you got to be there, right? You drive. I drove up to Fredericton and I spent the day there, and it was like, you know what? I checked my phone a couple of times, but
Yeah, that's not the end of the world, but it's like as long as you're as present as possible. That's one thing that's hard with real estate, Mike, is like I find it can become hard to be present, especially when we have all these things on our mind. There's a deal that's like there's some pending thing going on here where it's like I'm waiting on this response that's going to be a very important response, and depending on what they say is the next actions I'm going to have to take, and it's like a crazy chess game that never stops.
it's
It's like we're constantly playing chess on a never-ending game.
I figured it out, and I had to burn out to figure it out.
Right.
There's a switch to be shut off.
Yeah.
And Louis was. I related with Louis right away because Louis was that switch that he learned to shut it off. Okay, it was
And
like
you can even hear it in his voice, right? You can hear it when he talks. He's very composed, and it's like that's nice. Like it's just that's nice to have, and that's a nice leader to have as well, alongside with Mike, who's kind of the polar opposite, who's just like staring lasers into everybody and just go, which I also love too. And that's one reason that I love the Wolfpack, because you do have these different leaders to learn from. I love Atlas because a lot of the similar minds, these groups that are created, you get similar minds together.
yeah, you got to sort of find your pace, and I find that. For
Find
me,
your pace. That's a good marker on it too. Yeah.
I never could find my pace.
Yeah.
And getting burnt out and getting fried out, and I mean, you know, doing 66 ends, and just you get, and I got to Christmas one year and I was just zonked. And Christmas sort of came and went, and I sat there in a chair and I was like, man, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't. you know, you're doing 66 ends, you're fried, you're burnt, doesn't make no difference.
That's
you know?
wild. 66 ends, man.
Yeah, it's like, do you need to do 66
Did you have an assistant
ends?
while you were doing that?
No, I was doing it all by
You're
myself.
an animal. You're an animal. Now, there's a couple things I want to say. You talked about pace. I want to hit that for a second. You talked about pace, and I find this very interesting. I just ran a marathon 2-3 weekends ago now in Bangor. Talking about pace, the guy that I was running it with taught me something as I was leading up to run this marathon, and he was saying what you should try to do, Brandon, is run for 10 minutes, then walk 1 minute. And I'm like, isn't that going to mess my pace up though? Because I just ran one a month prior to that, right around the 4:30 mark. This isn't fast. I'm not trying to it's a decent time, 4:30. But I was like, is this going to mess my pace up? Is this going to mess my overall time if I walk 1 minute, which I've never done before, and I run 10? And the crazy thing is I finished that marathon with the exact same time as I did the month prior, but I took way less time to recover. I did not feel as gassed when I finished. And I was like, oh, is that ever interesting? The run 10, walk 1, where before I was running the whole thing and just exhausted and bagged towards the end. So is that ever an interesting thing? Find your pace. I like that you said that.
Well, we used to call that reverse coaching. And when we were talking to some clients, and they were, this is 2-3 years ago, you know, and they wanted to cap. And then the back then it was like, oh, well, if I capped, I'm going to be somebody, right?
Yeah.
And you know,
well, that's what it is at that brokerage kind of deal. It's like once you cap, it's kind of
and to
you
me,
kind of,
I
tighten
looked
the
at
tie
it,
up a little bit.
Yeah, and it's like whatever, it doesn't make any difference to me. But
right,
you know, and then these students are coming back, and I said, well, in order to cap, I said, let's calculate what you need to do.
Well, they have that over there, but it's like, are they cappers? Like that's a common term.
They lost.
Are they a capper? Are they a capper?
Well, yeah.
Kinda, eh?
I've always been a capper, but it was like, you know, let's figure out what nobody knew the numbers. I was amazed at that. And what happened is that I said, well, if you take on average and I always said average, you know, $350,000, $400,000 house at the time was $350,000 average.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, if
that's for the Moncton area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, if you're taking average, I said it's 10 to 12. And you're not going to get average on every one. Some are going to be less. One might be a little piece of land or something.
Right.
And, you know, I mean, you need 10 to 12 listings or deals or ends to cap.
Yes, fair, yeah.
And, you know, well, I want to do that in 6 months. Okay, though that's no problem. You know, it's two a month.
Yeah, very feasible.
And 2 a month, like, yeah, you know, 2 a month. It's not the end of the world. And I found it depending that, you know, I mean, during the winter, January, February, March, it's not crazy. You know, you're doing some stuff, but you're not.
A lot of lead gen going on there, right? A lot of relationship building kind of happening.
Yeah, so you're
prepping the listings that are coming in the spring.
So we just talked about this was course correction. You know, we get into June, and you know, I'm barely going to cap. You know, oh my God.
This time of year right here is the big course correction rate time that we're at right now, right? Like,
yeah, it's like, okay, well,
you're July 10th here right now, like pretty well middle of the year.
Yeah, and your two a month is now 5 a month, and it's like,
right. What have I been doing? What's not working? What's working?
And as an agent in EXP now, I look at it and I said, okay, what's icon? I've capped already.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not a big deal. So okay, what? Let's break down icon.
Right.
How many listings I need to get to icon, right? So capping, well, that's
what math did you do there? Because I kind of calculated a little bit for the St. John, but what math did you find?
It's 20 listings. If you're 6 months in, I mean, you're doing
20 listings to cap is what
20 listings to do icon.
Or sorry, yeah, icon. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, icon.
So it was like at the end of the day, I said if you did 13, 14, 15 listings to get the cap, now you got to do 20 to get the icon. And
yeah, the math I did was about 30. It's like you almost need around 30, it seems like, to hit icon.
Yeah, so turn your game on, right? I mean,
right. Turn your game on, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So if you're gonna get to icon in the second 6 months, your game's got to be turned on.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've watched, you know, Jenny and Moncton doing spectacular. You know, I'm not an icon number 3, but I'll do it in a week. You know,
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, she's incredible. She's like she had her YouTube videos that she did, and those hit really, really well, and she did them at a great time. And her energy is it's so approachable, and she's so nice and so warm and kind hearted. And then but on the other side of it, it's like there's an absolute workhorse. It's almost like she's a swan, right? She's like a swan. Like on top, it just seems like she's floating around, and everything's like, "Hey, everybody, how's it going?" But underneath, she's just
yeah. For me, it's like I looked at it and said, you know, wow, I'm amazed. I'm a little bit older, and for me, that energy is sort of gone. Right? It's burnt out, and then I'm probably 10 deep in now.
You're saying it's burnt out, but when I hear the stuff that you're doing though, but it's not, you're still out door knocking, you're still out doing all the stuff that you need to be doing. You're innovating, you're building signs. Talk about burnout. You got all kinds of energy, man. You're rolling hard.
Yeah, the energy I looked at those signs and I said, you know, the energy that I spent putting, put into those signs, I probably could have had 5 more listings by now, right? Oh. It's where do you put your time? And that's where you have to look at it. It's like, all right, we'll spend a little time building this post. Now they're getting built by themselves. I'm not having to hold his hand anymore. Yeah. He's out there doing that. Yeah. And I mean, to me, I look at it and say, well, all right, I called it a project. For me, it was a project that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Didn't make no difference which way it was going. I was going to do this project.
Because this was pretty well just for you. That was for you.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it became for everyone.
All right. And then people start going, what are you doing? What's that? Oh, I want one.
Yeah, I got a few messages. I remember doing a video and I got a few messages, and I got a message from an old mentor that I had.
Nice.
Nice. And she says, Mike, they go in awful tight in the ground. And I said, well, I sort of built them that way. And she says, are these, can we install these with high heel shoes? And I sort of thought,
So then you had to put some on to figure it out.
Yeah, well, we went, yeah. I said, that's a pretty easy solution. I said,
give me a pair of high heel shoes. I'll show you.
Yeah, I never tried that out. But, she says, some of my realtor friends are all women. I get it. Yeah. I says, it's a pretty easy solution to that problem. And she says, how easy? Well, let's go from a 7/8 bit to a 1-inch bit, because I said the shaft on the sign's a 1-inch bit. I said I made them so they were basically tight into the ground.
We'll just leave that. Your background has been in sales all your life.
Not all my life.
But the last how long?
I've had some blue collar jobs in my day.
Okay.
I think we've all had blue collar jobs in our day.
Right. No, because I remember talking to you and you said you did car sales. You've also sold boats. Yeah,
I was in the Marine for about 8 years. In cars, I went into that twice, and left the Marine business, and it was time for a big change.
Was that to real estate then after that?
Yeah, it was pretty much straight to real estate from that point on.
Yeah.
I was off for a little while, again, fried out. For me, Marine was, we're doing 70 boats a year.
Yeah.
So, and I was doing that by myself.
Is that seasonal, Marine? Obviously, it's got to be seasonal.
It would start in March.
You're not selling boats in the winter, are you?
Yeah, we're selling boats in March during the boat show.
Okay.
And we did a couple of boat shows. And anyway, from late April, people would get a little antsy. They'd want a boat. And it was not just selling the boats, but you were putting them in the water and training these people how to actually operate a boat.
Holy smokes, really?
So every boat was a delivery.
Do you have to have your SVOP to buy boats? Small vessel operating procedure?
Yeah.
Yeah? You have to have that to buy the boat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I found with that is...
You just get that online. You can literally...
Well, you can do it online. Takes you 5 minutes.
Pretty wild. You can get your boat license just by sitting behind a computer.
But what I found about selling boats is, a lot of these people probably shouldn't own a boat.
Right.
they do their online course and they're smashing into docks and smashing into trailers and doing all kinds of wild stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but that was a great career. Had some fun.
That was up in Moncton, was it?
Yeah, I was at Motoplex for 8 years, and then Motoplex got sold, and I think it was I lasted the better part of 2 weeks. No, it wasn't 2 weeks. It was about a week.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? It's time to leave. It's time to move on. It was time to change. And real estate's been an upward climb. It's been a learning curve. I mean, it's been a big learning curve from the step one till now. Yeah. I look at it now and I say, you're 5 years in, you're only starting to get comfortable.
Yeah, I know. Me too, man. Me too.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, just starting to get comfortable is just starting to get comfortable, right? Where it's like, Evan and I actually had this conversation where it's like, we have so much experience too. And that's a little bit of something I find different compared to like agents in big marketplaces, right? Let's say somewhere like Toronto where agents are maybe doing 1 to 2 deals, depending on the status of the agent. Like when you're looking at $1 million average sale prices, you're doing less volume, right? But here, New Brunswick, where it's about 300,000, 350,000 average sale price, we do a lot of volume. So I think we may get it might be different types of experience, but we get a lot of experience quick if we're committed to this. Like you just said, 66 ends in a year. Yeah, that's a lot of business to do in 1 year. I
think that was the third year in, or the second. I can't remember. It was the pandemic was going on, and house prices were skyrocketing, and people were paying over asking. And
so it's safe to say you've probably done over 100, 150 deals.
Yeah, I've done quite a few deals, but
right. And think of the experience you get through doing that, and then you're saying me too, and we're both saying we're just getting comfortable, and it's like, I think it's a testament, to how challenging this business can be, because there's so many things that come up and there's so many problems that need to be solved. And there's so many different aspects to this business that people don't even really consider.
Yeah.
That they don't realize what we're doing in the background to keep things together.
There's so many places you can get into trouble.
Oh, my soul is forever.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, I looked at the course that we took in Fredericton 5 years ago, and you know, I'm a little embarrassed to say, but I didn't pass that course on the 4th turn.
The 4th turn is when you passed it?
On the 4th turn. And I look back today and I said, you know what? I'm sort of grateful that he probably put me through that 4 times.
Right.
Because when I left that, I had read that book, I'm pretty sure, 4 or 5 times.
Oh, yeah, it's about 1,000 pages, the 2 books there.
Yeah, and you knew the answer to the question. I just didn't know. I call it the loaded question or the backwards question, right?
A lot of backwards questions on that test.
Yeah.
There's a lot of backwards. Which of the following is not a fiduciary duty? And you're like, okay, I know what the fiduciary duties are. And it's like very similar. They're all very, right?
I had a terrible time with that. And for me, it was
they worded weird.
Yeah, just ask me the question and I'll answer it for you. You know, it's like, can you ask me the question straight up?
Right,
you know?
right.
But I'm glad.
And even when you pass that, that's just like, it's barely even the surface of what we really need to know. Like, that's just enough to say you are now legally allowed to go transact in real estate. On behalf of your clients.
I think that course is basically a great beginner course to keep your butt out of a lawsuit.
True. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was basically what it was. You know, these are the rules and the regulations. Follow these rules and regulations, and you should be fine.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, don't deviate off these paths, and you'll be okay. And automatically, when you go out in the industry, you know, a lot of those paths get quickly deviated. You know, it's like this, and that's not how it works, you know.
No, they do. And there's so many things you learn that, like, it's like, oh, okay, this isn't something I learned from my real estate book. And you got to call and talk to people who have experienced this before. And you got to build a network of people that you can trust quick, of lawyers, of mortgage brokers, of specialists in all these fields that we require to keep the transactions moving forward. And that's been one of the That's a big learning curve too, is just finding the team around you that you can trust as well, outside of our real estate colleagues, like the team
Yeah.
of lawyers that we are able to recommend or call if we ever have questions. And it's like, I'm very thankful that I found some people that I work really good with and that have kind of been some sources I can lean on. Like it's, I tell some people like, oh, if you have a question, just let me know and I can call this lawyer and ask.
Jeez,
And then some people are like, really? You can just call a lawyer and ask questions and get like, and like they'll pick up. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because we build these relationships with them, right?
I text them after hours and they actually reply, and when you find that kind of person, you want to keep them.
You keep them. I got one, when I call him, the first thing he says is, are you in jail? And I go, nope. And he goes, okay. What can I help you with? Yeah. But he knows it's me. He's like, Brandon, are you in jail? Nope. He's like, all right. What do you need?
No, I've got a great team of lawyers and mortgage brokers and stuff, and you deal with some mortgage brokers, and then
and they might leave the industry for whatever reason, and then you got to find a new one. And
well, you find the good ones.
Yeah, you got to find the good ones.
You get tied in with a few people, and it's like, you get into some deals and things aren't flowing the way they're supposed to flow when you're used to specific people.
Right.
And, you sort of scratch that person off your maybe next time list, because it's like,
Right.
I deal with a handful of mortgage brokers and a handful of banks and a handful of people that I know, and it's going to get it, done.
Yeah.
And you can't get to I call it the final day looking for a bank letter that's not there on time.
Well, it always seems to be at the 11th hour. I know some brokers that I was working with where it was just always like, if it was due on Friday, it was always like Friday at 4 p.m., which just makes it so stressful. And then you find one that you're working with and it comes on a Wednesday when it's due on Friday. And then you get that finance and, hey, just want to let you know we have it done. It's like, oh, you guys are staying ahead of the curve here. You guys are being proactive and not just waiting to the last minute for everything. And then you kind of slowly shift some business over that way.
I think, excuse me, but I think that, that's a big part of our big piece of the pie when you get somebody you can work with like that at a bank or a mortgage broker, that's going to back you up.
Yeah.
I've an insurance lady the other day that I met on one deal, and she's been after me and sending me messages, and you ever need some help and stuff, and she's and the first one I sent her, I had a letter within an hour, and it's like, what the dine is that? I'm not used to that, right?
Right. No, exactly. So then it makes it easier to kind of say, hey, let's give her a try next time.
Yeah, well, no, she was spectacular, and then I sent her out a request for a quote of my own insurance the other day, because it's like, why don't you quote this? You're that fast, you're this key on the game. I mean, maybe I'm at the wrong insurance company.
Right. And that's the funny thing, is you'd never know until you go around and ask. And it's funny because I had somebody say to me from another brokerage, Brandon, our brokerage has the best training in all of St. John, possibly all of New Brunswick. And I say, the funny thing about training is it's like having a steak. If you've only ever had a steak cooked at home, it's a little bit dry and maybe there's some seasoning on it, so it tastes good. It's an exciting day. It's steak day, and you're always happy, and you think, this is the best steak I've ever had. But then you go to a steakhouse, and you see another level of the way the steak can be cooked. And it's like everybody thinks that what they're having is the best until they try something better. Until you actually get served something better, you don't even realize that what you're getting isn't the best.
Yeah, for me, I mean, going to a different brokerage, your brain is tuned in one way at your old brokerage,
and you're convinced that this is the best decision I made. I made the best decision to be at this brokerage, and I'm getting the best training available.
Yeah, you're getting the best training until you see something a little different. And for me, it was like, I can take training 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and not the Atlas or not,
No, but
those are all time scheduled training, but which I follow most of the time.
Yeah.
But when I first started, there were some systems that I had to put into place, and it was like, you need to know how to run these things because you don't. And KV Core and a lot of this stuff that you get involved with. I had to put some deals in right away. I wasn't in the business.
Sky slope and stuff.
Sky slope.
Yep.
So how do you work this? And I got into a sky slope seminar that was recorded. I think it was at 10 o'clock at night. And I sit there for an hour watching this video.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you found that, man, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah. And I come back and, you know, oh, let's build this listing in this sky slope, right? And it's like the next morning by noon, I had all my listings in sky slope. I had it figured out. And it was like, that wasn't so hard. You know, the learning curve was a little easier than I thought it was going to be. And the training was a little bit more focused. For me, it was, I want to focus on something specific. Let's go find it and focus on that specific thing. Okay. That, you know, like sky slope or whatever you want to do. You know, you can take training on Facebook Marketplace or training on Facebook ads or training on, you know, on whatever you want. Now I look at it and say, I get training on my bot because it's doing all that stuff, you know, add emojis, add tags
on the chat,
add all this stuff, right?
Chat GPT.
On chat. And it's like, you know, what do I need I look back now and I say, what do I need a VA for? Right. Here's the VA. I'm paying $20 a month for this VA.
Right. Exactly. No, and it'll do everything. And it's just a matter of being taught how to use it properly and what prompts to put in there and just kind of you have to play with it as much. There's a deer walking by the window. You have to play with it as much as, like you said, you build the skills behind the camera. So it's like, in order to build the skills with ChatGPT, somebody might say, oh, it's too complicated, or I don't fully understand it. It's like, well, you need to spend some time using it to figure out what it can do, how it can help you, how you can use it properly.
I've got to watch it a little bit because I went and fed a couple of videos that I did into it, and I've got to watch the language that comes out of it sometimes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because it adapts the language to your videos.
Okay, right.
So chat knows your language, and I always check it for curse words.
Well, that's kind of back to what I said at the first there, where you have a very direct approach to the way that you communicate, which I really do appreciate in sales. You're very no bullshit, which is nice.
No, there's no time for that.
There is no time.
There is no time. There's no sense in building, you know, bullshit.
Yeah.
We have to deal with so much in the run of a day that, you know, adding any kind of BS involved is like, no.
How have you found EXP's changed your business since you've come over in the last 6 months?
It's changed. It took me, like I say, it took me a little bit of time to adapt. I started chasing the cap. Cap was 6 months. I've never capped.
You did that quick.
I never capped in 6 months before. The rate to cap is much lower, so it was fairly easy for me to cap. I mean, now I guess the focus is on icon and can I actually do it, you know? And I'm pretty focused on icon. Yeah. Will I make it?
The cool thing is that you're fully adapting and you're fully plugging into all the things that EXP has to offer. Like you're able to find solutions to anything that you need very quick, and you've asked me a couple questions, but if I'm not able to get right back to you, then you normally have it figured out. You're like, never mind, solved it.
Yeah, if you have the answer to the question, I'll save myself a little time. But it's like,
right.
Yeah, for me, it's like, okay, I'll figure this out. You know,
so it's just been cool to see, and then even kind of doing more like with your videos, and then just getting re-inspired. Like, do you find just being in our group? Do you find that there's a different mentality to the way that you approach your business?
Yeah, just straight up mentality. I mean, I was doing some videos, and I haven't done them in a while. I stopped. Again, unplugged, but I was doing a lot of videos on off the seat of the car, and you know, I always say, you know, just tell some of my coaching clients, you know, just talk to the wiper blades. You know, they'll listen to you, you know. And
talk to the wiper blades.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, you just, you know, tell your story, tell it to the wiper blades. I don't dance around or do kind of foolishness.
No. You don't need to though.
Yeah, I just get to
dance around, right? Because there was a lot of that too.
Yeah, I don't
do any of that.
No. I mean, for me, that's sort of the, you know, talk about what's going on, talk about listings. You know, I went into a listing the other day. We had two other people fighting for the listing. And anyway, I did the listing presentation, went through the property with the clients, and sat down, and she said to me, she said, Mike, they're all the same. She said, what do you mean? She says, all these CMAs are within $5,000. Yeah, they should be. Right? If they're off by more than $5,000, I said, there's a problem. There's probably, you and I do a CMA and it takes me maybe an hour.
Right.
Doing
the full CMA.
To do the full CMA and take a little bit of proper time to study it out.
Right.
And, the seller sort of, she says, this listing agent here, she says, has 30 listings. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I said, I know that chap. I said, that's a pretty good listing agent. Yeah. She says, this fellow over here, she says, he's got 28 listings. Yeah, 28 listings. Yeah, I know him too. Very good realtor. I said, both of those are great realtors. She says, I got a question for you. And I said, oh, yeah, great. Go ahead and ask. She says, you've got two. I beg your pardon. She says, you have 2 listings. Yeah, that's right. She said, how come you don't have 30 and 32? No, I said, all my listings are sold, dear. And we sort of joked around that. And I said, just stop and think for a couple of minutes. And I said, I don't want to I'm not disregarding another realtor by no means.
No.
But, I said, I burn out on 6 to 12. Can you imagine how much you burn out on 30?
Right. How do you manage 30 listings?
How do you manage 30 listings? How do you manage the touch basis coming in? How do you manage the buyers you're trying to balance at the other side? There's a different realtor that the end result is the same. They're all going to sell your house.
Yeah.
Okay. But you may be okay with 10 listings. I'm okay with 6 to 10 listings. Okay. Yeah. Have I gotten there? Yes. Have I pulled the hair out of my head on 10 listings? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, 30 listings, not always the thing to have.
Right. And then it's like, think of the attention to service you're going to get from somebody that has 30 listings versus somebody that has 4 kind of deal too. Like there's that level too. So you can almost leverage both, right? You can leverage both scenarios, but it's, for me, I completely agree with what you're saying. Like anything more, 10 listings, that's a lot. And unless you just got 10 listings within the last couple of weeks, like,
well,
why do you even have 10 listings? Are you overpricing things? Is it?
Yeah, I look at them.
Are you not advertising? Are you not marketing? You're not doing good marketing, or what's going on?
Well, I look at that. I analyze that every day. You go to your local MLS and you're looking at how many people looked at your listings.
Right.
You're looking at your Facebook marketing. How many people has actually looked at it there?
Right.
Okay. And you're looking at different metrics to see where your listing is. Yeah. And if it's not moving or people are not viewing your listing, there's reasons.
Right. And there's steps that need to be taken to get this sold before we're going to lose too much money on it. It's just sitting there forever. And
yeah, you don't want, I always say, I don't want to take your house hostage. I want to sell it. I want to get you gone. I want to get you into your new property.
I don't want to take your house hostage.
No, I don't. Right. You want to get it sold.
In and out kind of deal. Right. Exactly.
But if you're doing the proper marketing, I was always saying that you should never put a listing on Friday afternoon, which I did one the other day. Yeah. And the client, you do as your client tells you.
Absolutely. We advise, right? We advise our clients to the best of our ability. At the end of the day, I always say, this is your call. I'm here to advise. I'm here to guide, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you're making the best decisions possible and advising you in the best way possible. But this is your house. You get the final say at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the decision on the sale of your property is your decision too.
Right.
I can only advise you what comes in as an offer. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. It's like and that scares some people too. Is like, oh, well, what if I don't get an offer that I'm happy with? It's like, you don't have to accept anything. Just because I bring you something doesn't mean you have to accept it. It's going to hurt a little bit if we don't bring something that's suitable to you, of course. But this is your house. You make the decisions. You're in control. I'm here to steer you and make sure that this works out the best way possible. Yeah. But this is your house. You control it, and you let me know at any point.
You're in charge. You're in control of the price.
They almost feel like when we come in that it's like we're like kind of taken right over, and oh, what if I get an offer? And it's like you're not forced to do anything here.
No. I went over one the other day, and the client wanted, they wanted a longer close. Oh, okay. Well, that's not a big deal.
Right.
Well, how do we do that? Well, we just change the closing date on the counter offer.
Yeah.
Right. We're counter offering them with a longer closing date. I said, this is where the closing date is. Yeah. I said, you don't have to sell your house and get out by then.
No.
Nothing says that. You want a closing date in October? Great. Let's do it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Kind of steering people on those paths. And that's where it comes into effect of having a good realtor who keeps their clients calm, even in the chaos. That's one thing that so coming from the military, one thing that we were taught as in our leadership roles was like, try to remove as much chaos for the troops below so that they can focus on their job, so they can focus on what they need to do. Even though things might be coming down from above. And what I mean, like, other people, you got your warrants and you got your officers all saying, this has to be done, this has to be done. Now, you take all that stress and then you communicate the mission to everybody below. So it's like I try to remove as much stress as possible. And Evan and I had this conversation the other day too. It's like if something comes up as a problem, we always try to find a solution before we ever bring it to a client. I don't ever just want to bring a problem. Say, hey, look, here's the problem. I want to digest the problem, work to find a solution, and then call the client and say, look, okay, there's a problem, but here's a few good options. Let me know what you think.
Yeah.
How do you want to move forward?
You don't want to leave. You don't want to come in and drop the problem on their lap. I mean, that's not the place for them at all.
No,
You're supposed to take care of all that.
Right,
I mean,
right.
But every, I hate to say it, but every transaction probably has a problem.
Everyone's got a speed bump of some sort.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of how big that speed bump is and how does it affect the ride.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is it taking a wheel off the car? Because some of those speed bumps you hit, there's a wheel well, or the whole tire's rolling right off, and some of them is just you're fine.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this: if you're looking for a business that's cut and dry, this is not it.
No, not at all. Everybody, thank you very much for watching. If you've watched this far, make sure to hit the like, subscribe button, follow along for the journey, and stay tuned for some more videos.